Hey, Coyote. Crap, what am I supposed to do? Hey, Vay. I'm doing pretty good. The enemies are still annoying, though. I will. How do I get through that? Oh wait, no, I should be able to, actually. Hold on. Crap. Football. Yeah, they're really annoying, Midnight. Crap, crap, crap. Dang it! Well, time to do all that again. Hey, Tokiyama. Tokiyami, I mean.
Wow. Things are very quiet for you tonight, Rain.
Yeah, keep going on yet.
So what's on the docket tonight?
Just playing more, trying to beat the rest of Crystalis. Oh, excuse me.
Best thing that's popped up in the chat so far is somebody going on about, just got Warframe, but I need platinum. Dude, if you know how to do things right, to Valet Scorpio, just remember something. There are certain people who know how to game the platinum system pretty easily. But like once you're set up in a decent guild or something like that, you find that you don't really need it as much. But there's still kind of a goofy, kind of wacky grind that's sort of there. Actually, now that I think about it, Warframe has got to be one of the most interesting free-to-play games that's come out in the past, I think, the past 5, or it must be, it's 5 or 7 years old now, I think. Or maybe I'm just thinking that it was 5 or 7 years old. And the only reason why I say that is because the weird thing about Warframe, which is why some people do consider it, or now thinking that it's a very unusual landmark, is the guys who made it, Digital Extremes, the same guys who did, I believe, they're made up of vets who actually made the previous, what was it, basically Unreal Tournaments 2 and 3, if I remember correctly. So, a big aspect of Warframe as a free-to-play game is, I think it's the only other real major kind of free-to-play action game, next to say Vindictus, for just what's kind of produced content-wise on offer. So, though in a weird sense, its constant state of development-ness kind of, sort of in a weird way, metaphysically fits the story. If that's not, I mean, it's not something they intended, but weirdly enough, it feels that way. I mean, consider the whole concept. Consider the whole concept behind Warframe when it begins. There's a bunch of weird space ninjas that suddenly show up out of nowhere, guided by a mysterious voice to go around wasting a whole bunch of weird cybernetic dudes. Then you slowly discover the cybernetic dudes aren't the only guys there. There's also this race of other spacemen in the solar system that turn out to be basically merchants who sell and take apart stuff from the older space regime that created you guys in the first place. And then as things sort of develop along, there's more and more of this lore kind of being brought out with each and every patch or every sort of new suit that comes out. So it's kind of like, it's not what they intended, but in a weird sense, it feels like there's an actual kind of accidental meta-narratives that are going on about, like, a bunch of old, you know, war relics from an ancient, better time. Well, duh! That's not news. Everyone knows that. But the whole point, though, is, like, the way Warframe is developed, there is this kind of weird sort of, meta-narrative of basically a whole, you know, fighting core from a better space empire sort of coming back from the brink, and every step of the way you end up discovering more and more of how the universe sort of works, the more that that lore gets kind of weirdly built up. As I say, it's an accidental meta. It's not something that was really planned for, because, let's face it, they just make up shit up on the fly, but if you played it from the original, like, beta time, like I did when I was first fiddling around with it, it almost shapes up that way. And that's a very unusual experience that I don't think a lot of... Like, that's a very unusual experience that maybe later game designers could kind of use if they were smart enough, but the downside is, that could easily backfire. In a sense.
What they wanted to do with Firefall, wasn't it?
Yeah, Firefall wanted to have a meta-narrative plot kind of going down, but I think the problem with Firefall was a couple of things. For what people tell me, there was a really good idea in there that felt a lot more like Tribes Ascendant first, and then eventually things got sort of grinded down in the whole crafting crap. As I say, I think the one thing that Warframe kind of gets right on its sort of grind is the components. Like, the crafting thing is there, but it doesn't seem as it doesn't sound as obnoxious as it was for Firefly.
Firefly?
Not Firefly. I mean, the game you mentioned. What was it?
I mentioned Firefall, and then you mentioned Tribes.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah, Firefall. So, like, the sound of it was, Firefall was really supposed to be more like a PMP, like, P versus E, like, Tribes sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then eventually it sort of fell apart because they tried to push for more crafting stuff that was maybe more tedious than it needed to be. A lot of people said that was kind of what sort of turned them off. You know, you build a fast action game and then it gets all kludgy.
Well, the point of the crafting was that they wanted to avoid the issue where you get a loot drop and it's something really good, but you can't really use it. Well, they didn't do that all that well, because they could have done it better.
Yeah, I can see how that could sort of kind of backfire. Basically, what would have been more interesting with Firefall is if it was a case where you truly could play the bad guys as well. I don't think you could.
They planned on that, but no, I don't think it got implemented.
I think they should have done that from the start.
Yeah.
That probably would have worked better.
Definitely.
Oh, but you know what's weird? Titanfall 1 and 2 are very interesting examples on how you could do that, right? So you don't necessarily need to have, like, because basically how Titanfall 1 and 2 work is their multiplayer is very interesting. So you're basically the parkouring pilot guy, right? And you have a few other parkouring pilot guys. But what you do have is you have a whole bunch of other troops that you can sort of more or less move around the battlefield, you know, to sort of interfere with the other pilot dudes. So they're actually a resource to sort of manage. So you still have like this massive battle going on, but it's not going to live or die by a bazillion players being there or not there, right? So, I mean, even if it's like a one-on-one match, you're both trying to move your little tiny battalions around to sort of either take damage on the main guy's Titan or to have them take pot shots at him in order for him to sort of rack things up for a certain number of kills before he can summon his big bot down. Which is a very interesting concept. It's actually really well done that way. I'm wondering if Firefall had gone with that sort of thing, you could have had the idea of having, like, okay, you still get the massive battle, but you're not forced into, having, it's gotta be, you know, you aren't forced into, like, it's gotta be an automatic, like, 16 versus 16 sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also didn't help that the whole Orson Scott Card controversy was hitting at that exact same time when you had, like, the big push for marriage equality. So it was like, if only we knew then what we now know. There might have been more people calling them out.
Time around, there will be a difference if it ever happens again, because narratives are kind of hard to push effectively without a lot of planning in the internet age.
Kind of like how I've been listening to Davis Arini, and he still thinks like World War III is about to happen in 2018, and I'm more like, you know, maybe you should take a different perspective and consider that World War III is like, it's not World War III, it's more like the 100-Year Wars Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Like, I think that's something that would, I think that's something more accurate for the years to come, because that's, but I can also see why for some folks that would be kind of frustrating. That's like saying, well, you could win this war, but this is going to be a 100 years war. Oh, what? And it's like, well, you have to understand, we're at a point now where you're not going to have something, I think, like World War II ever again, because it's too fucking expensive. And because there's just so many industries based around, you know, being able to, you know, maintaining the infrastructure for a lot of standing armies. The end goal, I mean, at first, you know, you're seeing a lot of these sorts of guerrilla scrub actions, but eventually it's like, look, if we can go back to the days... I mean, look, you know, this is a guy talking from my Scottish heritage. You gotta remember, there was a long freaking period of time in Europe where, you know, Scotland, you know, Scottish mercenaries were the shit, and they got hired for every fight on the mainland continent. Sometimes to the point of them fighting the same mercenaries for the same damn country. You know? And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up going back to something like that because, you know, there's money to be made, but there's not money to be made in, say, burning down an entire city. There's no value in it. You don't want to get stuck with the cost of having to rebuild that shit. I mean, in a weird sense, it's kind of like, if you're working in a telecommunications company right now, for the next 100 years, expect to make a shit ton of money or be in a very comfortable position. Because there's one thing that I've learned from some people who work in telecommunications. They'll tell you, it's the one business that is the most successful during a time of war or a peculiar time of unrest, because, you know, if communication structures get, you know, damaged, everyone's going to pay you an arm and a leg to put them back up.
Yep.
One sec. Sorry, it's just whenever I post the stream link in the Discord chat, it pings me on IRC, and then the light's been flickering this whole time we're live. Hey,
Mookie's in the house. Hey, Mookie.
Hello.
Don't worry, no more.
I'm back.
No more grinding for a while, at least.
Oh.
Mimics.
Though if you hear a large pop come from my microphone, don't worry, that's just me blowing up.
What?
I'm making like powder cartridges.
What?
Like paper cartridges.
Well, just make sure that point... Actually, no, I don't have to worry about that shit flying. Never mind.
Actually, you might. I have a rather decent amount of blackberry in here. Actually, no, you're fine. My eyes are bad. I only have a few pounds of it. Oy vey. Okay, let's see. Got my measure. Got my paper. I don't have my glue stick. Hold that thought.
Wait, do you have glitter too? Because you can't have... You got the glue stick, you can't forget the glitter.
Motherfucker.
Well,
That's actually how you make dragons for your musket. You gotta mix glitter with alcohol, and then it's gotta be the paper glitter. Well, that carbon... No. Shit. Templar, which glitter am I thinking of?
what?
Isn't it a certain type of glitter plus alcohol plus citric acid creates a highly photonic combustible?
I don't know.
Oh shit, that's right. Rambo
That's right.
Street. For some reason, I want to think it's you,
That's
just you're
right.
smarter than him. I keep wanting to think it's you who took chemistry because you're smarter than him. How did he fucking pass that anyway?
But just remember,
No,
there's chemistry, and maybe when he was in that class, he also knew chemistry. Wink, wink. Or the other
Yeah,
chemistry.
that would yeah, that would explain so much.
to everybody who's on the YouTube chat right now, take a good shot and a guess what we mean by chemistry. Because there's so many interpretations of that.
Oh my, are we actually streaming?
I'm expecting all the fucking lewd interpretations, because all of y'all down in the chat are sick individuals.
Templar, do we have a fire extinguisher nearby?
I don't know, actually.
Well, I might need one in a minute.
But, well, you can't do that until you get the Bane mask. You know how that works, right?
No, I don't. How does that work?
If you don't have the Bane mask, how are you going to get the fire to rise?
I'm more worried about it falling on my face, rising.
Fire rises!
Damn it, Templar. Oh, yeah. Okay, I gotta make this cut. Damn it, Templar, where do we put the glue sticks?
I don't know, bro. You're gonna have to figure it out. I'm trying to set up fucking Peril Miner, and I'm gonna configure it to dual mine Decred as well. Because, you know, I have no Nvidia, I really need the power to play.
Actually, you know what's the best part about this? Templar, the way you're describing it, how quickly soon is there going to be a Japanese anime that's going to be equivalent of Yu-Gi-Oh, but for cryptocurrency mining?
I have no clue. Japan is so far ahead of the curve of us in terms of crypto, it scares me. They are only matched the fanaticism of the bugmen we refer to as the Chinese. Gonna be right.
Yep, day 4.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, how long is Crystalis? I mean, Crystalis, if you play it straight through, it's probably what, like...
Well, that's an interesting bug. The trapped treasure chest is just freaking out and going over the canal slime.
User in your channel timed out.
So much slowdown. Well, that did nothing. Ooh, nice!
I like how all of this has just happened in like 100 years. Wow.
Well, that ring was pretty much a waste. Okay, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work.
What's wrong?
Playing the game.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was about to say something. Did they finally do the vote on the whole net neutrality thing today?
Yep.
Oh, okay. It was most likely defeated, wasn't it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Which explains...
Meaning...
And everyone is pissed. It's
Now-
hilarious.
It is, but let me explain a few things for those in the audience. See, the big issue with net neutrality is it's titled as such, but it's kind of not really titled as such. To put it politely, as some people have wisely said, if net neutrality was handled by the FTC, you would have seen antitrust cases out the wazoo for companies like Comcast and their frickin' behavior in the States. And that would probably set a stronger precedent for restoring net neutrality instead of dumping it in front of the FCC. And anyways, the biggest pushers of it were companies like, you know, Twitter, Google.
Podcast.
Yeah, Comcast. Because it allows them to have certain nice little privileges. Because, well, you gotta understand, the 2015 net neutrality bill was kind of pushed by Obama, so you kind of know that there has been...
Well, they want to set up their own regulatory body filled with their own little shells.
Yep.
Just like what happened with the railroads.
Yep. Though in the case of the railroads, their power didn't last very
User in your
long.
channel timed out.
Hey. Be careful what you say about the Teamsters. They'll come get your ass.
Did they come after you for not buying glitter made by
User entered
unions?
your channel.
No, because I'm too small of a bitch. They'll come after you because you're attacking their reputation.
Oh.
Prepare your anus.
Man, can you just imagine what some of these crossbowmen are doing? It's like, you know, they come home every night to the wife, and the wife is going, "Honey, what have you been doing? You know, you're never there for the kids. What do you do? Honey, listen, like, it's complicated. I mean, how do you think I pay for our horse, our six-legged horse? How do you think I feed them, you know? We've had to pay for 2 six-legged horses in this house. And you have to understand that, you know, this shit ain't cheap. So, I mean, look, I know I didn't want to tell you, but basically, I've been running around. I got this nice job where I just run around, like, you know, a couple of villages or so, and, you know, just sort of shoot people with a crossbow and rob them. All right?
Wait, we're talking about like the
Crystalis.
from
Crystalis.
Huh?
It's just all these random crossbow dude guys just walking around the map just shooting crossbows. But like, I wonder what the job application was like. Wanted, bunch of dudes, who can hit random people with crossbows.
No, you want to know how they got needed? They found the college-age students, college-age kids, and said, "Hey guys, you want a job, or you don't actually have to do anything? You get to make people respect your authority, though. Free crossbow."
Free crossbow.
Just like the U.S. Marine Corps today. Hey kids, want people to respect you? Get a free service rifle.
How do you beat this guy? Like, I don't even know which sword to use. Alright, give me a sec. And it doesn't tell me, yay.
Well,
Are you looking at
shit
game
happens.
facts?
Yes.
Let me see.
I'm on the boss Mao. I mean, you'd think that it's the new sword that I just got, but I don't think so.
Wait, what point are you? Are you at the pyramid?
No, I'm at the... I just got the lightning sword.
Oh, here's the thing. Enter the temple at the back of the town and defeat Mado with the sword of
that's
water.
what I'm fighting. Oh! Wait, water, what?
Yep, that's what they're saying. Defeat Mado with the sword of water.
There we go. Oh, I can damage him while he's in the ball form.
You know how to beat with the sword of water. That changes things, doesn't it? It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, at least I did some damage that time.
Buddy joined your channel.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, boss battle.
I'm doing terribly at.
You're fighting one of the Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
Why is it that any boss that rolls into a ball is a pain in the neck?
I don't know.
What was
Well,
that boss from Metroid Prime Echoes that was the boost ball boss? That was a pain in the neck too. I think it's just anytime a boss rolls into a ball, it's bad news.
There we go. Yes!
Nicely done. Barely lost any life.
No, I healed halfway during the fight.
Oh, you sneaky.
Coyote Con says, like Thunderball!
You gotta do it the way Tom Jones would say it. Thunderball!
Well, that one's gonna cause a lot of slowdown.
What, singing like Tom Jones?
Now the new attack I got.
Yeah, because now your sword is shooting R-type lasers. Now here's an interesting thing to consider. Do you notice how nice and sparse the whole game sort of is? Well, not sparse, but I mean to say, like, there's no... They explain a lot, but there's not a lot of busy cutscenes or anything like that.
That was actually pretty common back in the day.
Yeah, but the reason why I say this is because I remember I played Crystalis on an emulator once, and then I played the Game Boy Color readaptation that Nintendo America especially did, and they put in some really garish looking like artwork for some cutscenes. Oh, and they were bad. And a bit amateurish, too. But it is rather interesting that this is like one of the few Zelda clones that you're not seeing a lot of people take a lot of inspiration from for a remake.
Shame, because you could definitely improve on this one.
Oh yeah.
Alright, where am I supposed to go next?
User joined your channel.
Hello. Hey, Lizard.
Of course, actually, maybe the main reason why a lot of people haven't chosen to improve on it is because just a few years after this time, we would probably get what is it? Link's Awakening. Is it not Link's Awakening?
Yes.
Link's Awakening for the Game Boy, and that is, I think, even compared to some of the other top-down Zelda games, it's kind of still top tier when it comes to just
definitely
how everything was built and designed in that world.
So, didn't they remake Link's Awakening?
They did?
I thought they did.
Let me check.
You're hugging.
There is a fan-made one that they did that.
You're hugging the wall more closely than I had to hug the wall when trying to get the rocket launcher in Perfect Dark.
Well, that's because he keeps getting chased by flying thoughts in this game.
No, it's because the ground hurts me for some reason.
Ground is lava! We're back on the playground, aren't we?
Okay, I gotta ask something. Where did that stupid meme come from?
What, the ground is lava?
Yes. I never heard anything like that in my
you're Canadian.
Kazakhstan woods
Well, yeah,
You were
okay.
a child?
when I was a kid. I
Really?
never heard of that nonsense.
Then it must be a great American meme then, because I replayed that game all the time. We had these giant playgrounds that you could navigate to just about any part of them, if you had the right level of dexterity without touching the ground.
Yep.
Oh, you're talking back in the day when they were allowed to have the big brown wood ones
Yes.
with the big metal slides.
Yes.
Before a bunch of stupid boomercuck parents pussied out and said, "No, give them the tiniest playground possible. What if my son gets a splinter?"
Mookie says it was the floor is lava is a thing in the UK too. Yeah, but we used to you used to have to jump if you wanted to clear certain areas without touching the floor, or like go across the monkey bars, or go across the what do they call the thing where it had the rings that you had to grab onto? Yeah, they were just laid out almost as if they were intended to play that game.
Well, you see, that's what happens when you have K-type parents. They make K-type toys for K-type kids.
Did you guys have ball tag?
If you mean dodgeball, yes.
No, I mean where somebody gets a dodgeball and they just throw it at each other, and whoever has the dodgeball is it.
I played that bit.
Yeah.
I think I played that a couple times. For some reason, I only went through a few years of elementary school, but at my elementary school, everyone played kickball.
What do you mean you only went through a few years of elementary school?
I was homeschooled for most of my, most of elementary school, and then the entirety of middle and high school.
Same.
Huh. I had the whole public school experience.
Yeah, when I went with an elementary school, it was a private school too.
Huh.
A very, I think it was Waldorf style, so very,
I want to point out, I don't mean this in a mean way, but on the one side we have the leader of Alt-Furry homeschooled, and the other side we have a follower of Richard Spencer, who went to public school.
I am not a follower of Richard Spencer.
I thought you were.
Well, that shows you what homeschooling does.
Waldorf was weird, by the way. It was like this bizarre combination of somewhat religious and somewhat new age. So, like, we read through the entire Bible, but, yeah, it was bizarre.
But what?
But one of the things you end up discovering is, wait a minute, some of this stuff in this book actually makes sense. I don't get what the fedora tippers are going on about. And more importantly, those chapters about Saul, David, and Solomon are much more interesting than they'll ever teach me in Sunday school.
Actually, I should clarify. We read through the whole Old Testament. We actually didn't go on to the New Testament.
Huh.
But yeah, if you actually go and read what's his name, Mr. Waldorf, whatever his name is, his religious beliefs, they're completely bizarre.
Were any of you in the GATE program?
What?
GATE, the GATE program.
No.
I was in that.
Well,
Oh yeah, because you weren't in public school, what I'm talking about.
yeah. Public schooling, everyone.
In a weird sense, in my past, I was kind of homeschooled too, but it's more like I was homeschooled because for a brief period of time, how can I put this way? In the 80s, you know that there was a whole bunch of really shitty educational fads that came from the frickin' west coast of the U.S. Nobody ever ran any means testing to prove that any of that shit was ever gonna work. But I had the misfortune of kind of being in a alternate, what was it?
Being a
element.
guinea pig.
Yeah, and strangely enough, you know, my parents pointed this out. Sometimes I have to sort of vaguely remember it because, you know, not all folks remember a lot of things about the past. Sometimes they like to, but as my father said, well, truth be told, you didn't really like this alternative place at all. And, you know, I pushed for it not being there. And my parents listened. So they moved me to another, so I moved to a different school, and in the process, my mother also basically took extra time at home just to teach me all about basic phonetics. Which, you have to understand, was kind of a big deal, because I think the school we were at, they were doing what they call whole language, which is how do I put it this way? There was a rationale behind the whole language concept for teaching people how to read. Whatever that concept was, I don't think it ever made any sense, because once again, it's another West Coast educational fad. Like the new math, you go, what the heck is this based on? Other than, say, trying to print new textbooks. But, you know, and the weird thing is, if any of you guys get a chance, there's a rather interesting video that Fox Day put out one time in which he was explaining that part of the reason why phonetics is a lot more valuable than whole word teaching is because with phonetics, it forces you to fully understand and grasp grammatically what a word is. So, you know, one of the things he was kind of mentioning is that possibly the reason why you've seen all sorts of weird, you know, postmodernist novels coming left, right out of the woodwork is because you get a lot of authors, like, say, the guy who wrote Infinite Jest. They don't have, he sort of felt they don't have a good grasp on the actual language that they're playing at. So instead of writing, you know, dense, concise works, they're writing very dense works that's full of nothing but discovery writing. So I like to call that the new, if you hear me sometimes online, it's like I jokingly call it the new yak school of writing, where you spend hours upon hours over biovulating about what's going on with a character's thoughts, and you're going, can you please get on with it?
What was the whole phonics thing that people did for a while?
No, phonetics.
It is phonics.
It is phonics, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's what we mean. It's just phonetics or phonics, either way. But phonics is the way... I mean, they don't do whole language anymore in most schools, from what I hear. They eventually went back to just teaching straight up phonics. But basically, phonics was how everyone was taught to read for a very long time. And then in the 70s and 80s, along with the new math, or early 80s, along with the new math, it was one of these dumb educational fads that was just swept in because supposedly it was supposed to have some minor advantage that nobody really had the heuristics to measure for. And they just sort of pushed it into so many public schools that it kind of screwed up how people were reading.
We're talking about new math bullshit that they tried to push because the Russians beat us with Sputnik. We're gonna lose the space race. We need to get more people taught math.
I'm hooked on phonics.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I know about because like my dad had to put up with that shit.
I was hooked on
Back in
phonics.
middle school.
Whip out the card and you gotta pronounce it.
Do you ever have Bob books?
The what?
Bob books.
No.
No. Nope. They're like Dick and Jane, but not as bad. Because like really funny things would happen to Bob.
No. I was actually like really advanced when it came to language. Like when I was in, I forget if it was 2nd or 3rd grade, I was reading the Martian Chronicles. So yeah.
It kind of reminds me. I think I know why you guys never heard of GATE. I think that's a California only thing. It stands for let's see, what's this stand for? I'm looking at it right now. It's
Gay and trash education. I mean, it's California.
it's a
Wow.
I just had the page.
Sorry,
open.
I couldn't resist.
No, you're right. Gifted and talent education. I think. And I can't remember.
Oh, congrats!
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I can't remember a lot about it. I remember that they took us to San Francisco and we went to a modern art museum, and I can't remember a whole lot after that.
Because of all the weed.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein.
No. Oh.
Well, keep in mind, it's California.
I fucking went too hard.
It's hard to say if anything you saw there was remotely real.
I went too hard. Gotta pull back.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
think,
point in attacking any of these. I can just walk around paralyzed. And just deal with it.
yeah, I think I saw on Poll people had stories about it, but I'd never read any of them. I need to look that up.
I don't remember if we used phonics or whole language. I honestly don't.
We did phonics.
I'm sorry, what did I walk into?
We're talking about hooked on phonics.
It's working for
Talking
me.
Hooked on
We're
phonics.
talking about
education system. Why it's fucked.
Oh, that's easy. Because you put 50 kids in a room, they're not going to learn shit. They're going to be too busy trying to play grab ass with each other.
No,
And make babies.
we're trying to discuss whether trying to recall whether we used a phonics method or a whole language method to learn to read.
That's fun. I'm dyslexic. So I didn't use either of those methods.
Well, then you don't get to talk about. I'm sorry.
Yeah, get out.
Okay.
Well, see, bro,
But
you get to
because-
shut the fuck up.
No, in all seriousness, I don't remember.
Remember just phonics, I assume. Because what's whole language? Because I assume everyone is taught to read by sounding out the word and learning what
No.
each sound the letters make.
No, there's a whole language approach where
Alright.
Actually, yeah, I guess technically, even though mine was very weird, involving learning Latin to be able to learn English, that's still technically a phonics.
Actually, oh my gosh, that is the best advantage to ever have. In order to learn the language, you had to learn Latin.
Well, like,
Holy
okay,
shit, that is
English, German, and probably French, and a bunch of other languages are all based on Latin. Latin is a unique dead language, so when you're dyslexic, especially as heavily as I was growing up, as I've grown older, my brain's developed more. Apparently, some of the issues have either left me, or I'm just gotten so good at it I don't notice it anymore. But yeah, you had to learn I had to learn Latin roots and how to sound out their roots to learn to read, and then identify them in the English words, so I could get within the ballpark of 3 words for any group, and then I had to determine by the context of what I'd previously read what the actual word was. This was some fucking code-breaking shit just to read, mates.
Yo,
Fucking
Bar,
sucked.
Yo, I know you're live. I'm watching the stream.
what am I supposed to do next? The guide finished. But I didn't beat the game.
You're supposed to now commit seppuku.
Where are you at now?
I defeated Mato.
I don't remember.
Do you remember the giant ape statues that spit fire at you?
Is this Dragon Ball?
No. They're
I
like
know, it's
in a
Crystalis.
wall. Yeah.
I don't even know this game.
Here, I'm near one now, I'll show you.
Dragon Ball Z!
Okay.
Oh,
It's
by
like
the way,
for
it didn't blow up.
This is for like the Nintendo Switch or something.
apparently,
One of those
so,
indie games.
So let me see
Okay,
here.
this thing is
Rain.
shooting at me. How do I kill it?
Okay, so Rain, you're in Dragonia Castle. You're supposed to destroy the iron wall with the Sword of Thunder.
Yeah, I got that.
I don't know. I guess you have to kill King Kong. You have to chase him off the Empire State Building.
Something interesting is going on with that wall's chin.
That's the emulator.
Because I see it's taking hits from the fire spread.
Oh, it is?
Some of them
Not
are.
effective.
Looks like when it's hitting the eye, it does damage.
That's a lot of damage.
In before an NPC shows
sure
up
I'm
to
supposed
fix
to-
the...
I'm supposed to use the lightning one?
Shit.
But
well,
it
that's
is-
what it says in the walkthrough I'm looking at, but maybe you just need to just hit it with the sword and not do the power-up thing.
Not doing anything.
Getting killed is what you're doing.
Oh, there we go. I guess I just gotta hit it right.
Gotta whack it.
Oh, crap.
I told you, I think the eyes are the weak points.
There you go. We're good.
You gotta whack it like I did that cat.
So did you hear about Dustin Hoffman?
Well, what is he doing now?
Bites the dustle.
You fucking serious?
Oh,
Damn.
he's dead? Whoa,
No.
let's check it. Let's check it.
I mean his career.
Oh, what'd he do?
Oh.
More, 2 women are accusing him of sexually assault, and he's also being accused of exposing himself to a minor.
Oh, you're done.
Wah, wah, wah.
Who is he again? I mean, the name is familiar, I just don't know what he's done.
Wow.
Oof.
I was like, he in sports or something?
Oh my god.
Midnight Blaze says 3 more after him beyond that.
Here's what I'm gonna say, Derek. Don't tell him who Dustin Hoffman is.
Uh-oh.
The more he guesses, the more hilarious this gets.
Okay, is he on TV?
Come on, man.
Alright, so
You
let me
can
ask you
say.
guys a question. What's your face gonna be like when net neutrality gets reinstated in Congress?
This is gonna be like an inverse 20 questions. You know the name of the person, and now you have to ask 20 questions to work out who he is.
Music. Is he country music?
No.
Country music.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'll give you an age.
Okay, so has he
I'll give
done
you
a
an,
whole-
I'll
He
give you
played
an,
Captain Hook in the movie Hook.
I'll give you an
Okay.
age. 80.
So he has been on TV then.
Yep.
Yep.
Let me guess. He did Born for Freedom, didn't he? Or Looking for Freedom, I should say.
What else has he done?
I don't know who this guy is either.
I'm loving this. This is great. This is lovely. Oh.
He was in Meet the
Hey, what gets us
Fockers.
more stream views?
You could say that, you know, he was in Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, okay.
He was in, no, what was the sequel to Meet the Fockers?
Meet the Parents.
Meet the
That
Parents.
was the prequel.
No,
that was the original movie. Was Meet the Parents.
Oh, what?
Meet
No,
the
the one
Fockers.
where
Oh,
they
there was
meet his
fuckers, and then there was
parents.
like fuckers, like legit. They went like hardcore with that.
Like Meet the Fockers 2, whatever, when they met his parents.
No. Meet the Parents was the original. Meet the Fockers was the one where they met his parents.
Okay, yes, he was the dad in Meet the Fockers.
Oh!
Hi guys!
You don't get that on this stream. Shut the fuck up, Herc.
Okay, what's he been in that's actually good? I feel bad that that's the only thing I know of him about.
I can give you a hint. It involves an older lady in pantyhose in the 1970s.
Tootsie!
Doubtfire.
Not Doubtfire, but Tootsie is the inspiration for Doubtfire. We'll give Varric that one because that's actually rather that's funny. Because,
There you go.
yeah. Yeah, but I do find it rather hilarious that no one has picked up what I'm referring to. At all.
Okay, I'm gonna go
Simon
through the movies
Garfunkel.
here real quick from IMDb, just because now I have to. So, he was... You know, Kung Fu Panda, Kung Fu
Shut up,
Panda
Kylie,
2,
don't help.
Kung Fu Panda 3,
Yeah, but
Little
who was he?
Fockers. He was Master Sifu.
Oh, okay.
Tales of Despero, he was Roscuro.
Didn't see that one.
Really? It's actually pretty decent.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
I
That was a good movie.
don't remember if I saw that one. I know I had a game that was something like that.
Perfume.
Never
Why-
even heard of that.
Why am I running at this resolution?
So wait, the R-type bullets don't take any mana?
No, because it's only...
It's only stage 2.
Yes.
Wow, so you got a spread shot that doesn't take
Yes.
mana now. That's nice.
Anyway,
You know-
Meet the Fockers, I Heart Huckabees, Wag the Dog, Sphere, American Buffalo, Sleepers, Outbreak.
I always thought I
Outbreak,
Heart
right?
Huckabees was a campaign film for Mike Huckabee.
You wish. What? He was in A Wish for Wings That Work?
Oh yeah, that was funny. I like that
We
movie.
have to watch that.
I haven't seen that in a long time though.
Oh no.
So,
And
is
a
the
lot of
big
people
point-
don't even know what the
Oh,
hell that is.
Speaking of movie stars, guess who's going to run for president, apparently?
The
Dwayne.
Rock.
Yes. Imagine everybody using Tooth Fairy memes.
Oh my god.
We're gonna have the.
I love
But
it.
he's good. But guys, you know he's gonna run for. I'll tell you what he's gonna run for. He's gonna run for the Democrats because he's been MK Ultra. Maybe he's their top MK Ultra agent. Think about it.
Yeah, no, he's pretty much super, you know, YouTube powers guy now. Doesn't he have a kid now? Well, yeah, his fucking wife is like, I think they had a kid now, so I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that.
Dwayne's like their ideal American.
I'm proud to be an American.
You know, as a guy who's half black, a few years ago I would have laughed at that jest. But knowing how the Democrats are right now, yes, they would use him as what they want the ideal American to be.
Yeah.
Has to be.
What, a guy
dark
that eats
skin.
400 pounds of fish a year?
The guy with the elbow
I've seen that guy's meal
uh,
plan. It's
and
scary.
eyebrow that changed the world.
He's single-handedly eating
Keep in mind,
out
it's also
species
on,
out of existence.
He's
he's also on
saved.
Disney payroll.
He's saved California many times in many different films, like the earthquake one.
He's in a comedy duo
That's a
with
good point.
Kevin Hart.
He's going to be in a video game-based movie that haunted me in my childhood.
He's in like 3 different movies in a jungle with the same shirt.
Yep. It
It's
makes
not
me believe he did
awful.
all these shoots at the same time.
He had a special on CNN where he talks about movies and relates it to different civil rights movements, which is kind of what I'm thinking about him politically.
Oh, good grief.
There's an awful Disney live-action film that he's in. I can't remember the name of it.
It was
It's like
called
Return to Witch
Scorpion.
Mountain.
There was
No,
one
no,
called
no,
the Scorpion
no.
King.
No, not Witch Mountain. That one's
Scorpion
it's not a
King.
remake.
The one where he's a football player?
Yeah, and then there's what's her name from Corey in the House is on it, and it's, and yeah, he was also on an episode of Corey in the House too.
Oh, that reminds me. I know what I'm getting rain for quiz. For
Well, if we're gonna do
Christmas.
this right,
DS game of Corey in the House.
Absolutely.
if we gotta do this right, we gotta put John Cena's hat
This
in the
can't
ring.
be real.
It'll be John Cena for Republican and fucking The Rock for Democrat.
We already have a WWE fighter in the White House.
We just
He
need
run
another
again.
one. He's gonna be there on the sidelines. You know, John Cena will be there giving Donald Trump the salute.
You have like Mark Cuban sponsoring The Rock, and it'll be another Battle of Billionaires.
You know what?
Mark
Maybe
Rubio sitting there with The Rock Johnson going like, I nominate this man.
But you see, maybe that's what'll happen. Is that's the real invisible war that Deus Ex was warning us about. That the Illuminati was just going to give control over because they're so old and frail. They need testosterone to run things, so they're just going to give it up to give it up to the wrestlers to run.
Yeah, the McMahon family is really just running the whole fucking country.
Politics is just going to be fist in the store with WWE.
McMahon
crap,
family.
I'm not ready for this fight.
McMahon family is like the shadow. He's the shadow government. It's give them fucking McMahon family some like legendary ass fucking like military positions in government.
You notice that every boss room is kind of the same? It's like has that Mega Man vibe.
Yeah.
You're fighting the robot masters, but they're not robot masters. They're actually
Speaking of politics, Fabulous, how you taking that Eric Kane stuff?
Here's the thing. It's perfectly fine to take the piss out of the guy. Look, he's a liberal reporter, and they don't look. The one thing that we've learned in the last few years, and for some folks like, some folks like say Fidrin, who have learned since the day he was born, is that the vast majority of the press is never honest about the fact that they have stakes in keeping their shitty little networks operative. Now, let me put it this way. During the previous Gulf War II Electric Boogaloo in the early 2000s, I was like, the one guy that I respected who was pro-Gulf War II was the guy with the big American shirt on that said, let's take their oil. And I would want to go up to that guy and say, thank you, sir. I want to congratulate your service. You're actually being honest about why you're there in the first place.
Right.
You're not strapping it up with all sorts of nonsense about memes about trying to liberate a bunch of people. You're saying, look, man, we just want to get their oil.
Right.
Just say that. And in the case of Eric Kane, part of his so-called centrism is just him biovulating.
He's a centrist?
Yeah. His so-called centristness is all about him biovulating with as many adjectives as he can fill in a word salad to make it sound like he's on your side. Because he's afraid of people calling out all the journalists and saying, hey, you guys aren't doing your job, you suck. And you might not be very smart at it, we could do this better. They don't want to hear that.
He blocked me when I said that. He blocked me on my alt account when I said that he wasn't a real journalist, he was a blogger.
That was your alt?
That should have been pushed more in Gamergate.
It's
We should have
always
said,
raised
no.
because
You're not
you're
journalists. You're
hosting.
bloggers. Drag them down to your level.
Post the trumpeting that's already happened. There's nothing they can do. The clock can't be turned back.
So, the thing is, though, is Bannon really wrong?
About what?
About
The
what?
thing that Eric Kane was talking about. It started the whole
What did
Eric Kane thing.
Bannon say?
Journalism is a fucking swamp.
Allegedly.
Is that the thing
Here,
you're
let me
talking
look
about?
it up.
I mean, was Milo a
Look, you
big
gotta
part?
understand.
Well, no, Milo
I just
was
saw a
banned from
fucking
Twitter.
slap fight occurring on my timeline
No,
and
no,
said,
here's the
I
thing.
have to
Milo
control
was
this.
Milo was banned from Twitter around before Donald Trump even really got going.
This is
Milo
what
was banned
Bannon.
from
This is what Eric Kane quoted that ticked people off. Is he said, quote from Steve Bannon. I realized Milo could connect with these kids right away, Bannon told Green. You can activate that army. They come in through Gamergate or whatever, and then get turned onto politics and Trump.
You linked something called Forever Mine. What the fuck is this?
Okay, so maybe 100,000 people did that at absolute most, and that's at a very, very generous estimate. So
The reason why they hooked on the Milo was because a lot of the journalists fucking didn't write articles that were positive about Gamergate in any sense. So people got hooked on him because he was really one of the few people that did, next to you know, some of the quote-unquote positive articles that Tech Raptor wrote.
He also took the enlightened alt-centrist position ages ago. If an SJW is using video games to push an agenda, this is what Eric Kane wrote, you can rest assured that these right-wing non-gamers suddenly swooping into the scene with inflammatory anti-feminist headlines are doing the same thing, only from the other side of the political spectrum. If you care more about your political viewpoint than you do about video games, by all means, welcome them as heroes. But if you truly care about video games, I can only suggest that these are not the droids you're looking for. At least the dreaded SJWs have been writing about games day in and day out for years, not merely at this opportune moment. These are not people who want to talk about video games, let alone play them. This is the co-opting of video games to push political agendas, the exact same thing gamers are accusing SJWs of doing. The enemy of your enemy is not necessarily your friend.
One little problem with that. No. One little problem with that.
Kill yourself.
There is a political movement that is decided that everything that is attractive to your straight male is heresy, and you can't have that anymore. So if you actually are someone who likes guy things, basically, to put it bluntly, then
masculine things.
You must be opposed to this political group, and they say that they are explicitly political. You can't deny that. So yeah, you must take a radical political stand.
In short, what you're saying is no,
I don't get it.
What you're saying is that it's a fucking entire political movement that is like, you're a white male.
Yeah, I'm basically saying you can't ignore it at this point. You have to pick a side, basically.
There are centralists though, centrists or whatever.
I'm all centrist.
But yeah, there are centrists though. You fucking shut the fuck up, Tempai. I'm not just a meme, motherfucker. The thing about this is that,
and then I don't even care whether or not there is an alt centrist.
No
it's
one...
deader than Deadwood at this point.
Alright, whatever.
Hey, Raziel, are you Raziel from back in the day, the Raziel 9000, Raziel 10,000?
Yeah,
I was saying that,
centrism died when Fox from the
we're not
West
talking
left
about
Twitter.
centralism, dude.
Okay.
We're not talking about centralism, alright? I'm just saying it does exist. You can't just ignore it. It does fucking exist. There are people who are centrist fuckers, okay? Alright? Some people do care about purple lives. Alright? Fucking, alright? So what I'm saying is that when there were people who are kinda already like on the left side, and they came to them about corruption in journalism originally, all of this crazy radical bullshit started coming out, and we all saw it, and we're like, what in the fuck? And then people that were well-adjusted people on the right, like Milo, showed up. He wrote his articles and wrote positive things, and that is when he started making sense to people who were very confused about their politics and converted them over. And that is perfectly fine for me. That's what I'm trying to tell people. I'm like, that is perfectly fine for me. If suddenly someone is making a lot more sense than what you're hearing from the other side, especially when you're just trying to fucking, protect my ethics, then and at the same time, the people on the right, especially someone who is coming from a position of authority, and that is, I'm a journalist, here's me, fucking people are gonna listen to that. Yeah, exactly, that's what I said. I'm a journalist, here's me. Get that? Okay, and that's why people will listen to them. That's why people listen to Breitbart Tech, which was fucking just there just to keep the gamer geebers happy. We know that. Then there was Tech Raptor, who decided now they don't want to do tech stuff. Now they want to do gamer stuff. okay, and a bunch of other shit like that. So, and that's mainly because the writers that TechRaptor now has are people who were reading their articles and liked their stuff back in the day, or who are now authors for TechRaptor, and their primary interests are games. Hey! Okay. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So you can't get. So when Eric Kane says this shit, I totally get what he means, but it's not the right way of saying it. If he's that's what he means.
I don't think
Should he be mad about it?
Mad at Trump.
Yeah, he's mad about it, and he deserves it. He deserves everything.
Yeah, he's one of the idiots who caused it.
Yeah.
If he just did his job at Forbes instead of pissing and moaning about, then none of this would have happened. He would have been Milo instead of...
He was upset that he's not Milo right now. That's what's going on.
Yes.
He is upset that he is not Milo. He is
and he would have been if he did his job.
Yeah,
So
he's upset.
is that the reason?
Yeah, this is all what it's about. This is all what it's about.
Here's the real question I don't think anyone has answered. Is this the reason why, when I fucking linked the fucking Medicare video, he just lost his shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Medicare
called him out for not being a fucking journalist.
I could only post about 2 minutes and 20 seconds of it because it's Twitter, but if you look at the full video, which I linked, Medicare dismantles exactly what he did wrong. If he had listened to Medicare, he would have become Milo. No joke. If he had taken those criticisms to heart, it would have changed everything. But he didn't.
Look at what Eric was doing. Remember at the time, look what Eric would have
won.
Yeah, Hillary would have won. Yeah, Hillary would have won.
So we should be glad that he's a cluster B cup, and therefore his narcissism took over and made him destroy himself.
It wasn't really narcissism. It's just that he was running at the same pace as Milo at the time. There was a reason why he was going to those Google Hangouts all the fucking time and trying to get those interviews and all that other shit. Just that he wasn't good enough, and he's pissed off. And the reason why he wasn't good enough is simply because he wasn't charismatic, and he wasn't he wasn't entertaining at all. Anytime you watched him, were you seriously entertained by like, oh, he blew them the fuck out and shit like that? No, he wasn't. He was sitting in a room like everybody else who was doing their shit, sitting in a room instead of going to like panels and shit. And fucking just thinking that, well, if I just sit in this room and talk, I can just get all the people to come to me.
Well, it wasn't only that; it was that he was too milquetoast. Like part of the reason that Milo got so popular was because he did what was mentioned in the Titan post. He understood that a dilute position is boring.
Awful. It's awful. It's the most awful thing that you could ever do.
Here's my question: who would have won if instead of Milo it was what's his name? Ryan Holiday.
Oh my gosh! If Ryan Holiday was the one,
yeah, because we know journalism would be dead if it was Ryan Holiday. But who would be president now?
Gary Johnson.
Gary Johnson. Yeah. Meditations on strategy and life, Ryan Holiday. Who the fuck is this guy?
No. Trust me, I'm lying, Ryan Holiday.
I don't know.
Basically,
Jeb.
Hold on.
Coyote Khan in the chat says Jeb.
You know how like alt-free didn't exist, and all of a sudden all these people started writing articles on it.
That's him.
And now Newsweek is convinced it's a real thing.
What?
Ryan Holiday does that for a living.
Yeah.
His job is to get stories that of questionable authenticity into the New York Times. That's what he does.
Well, the key thing that Pave Darker basically summed up is he said, "Look, the news most of the time is just to generate leads for things, and if you look at it from that perspective, yeah, I mean that just makes sense." it's very rare that you get objective view. There's always going to be a bias here, there, or everywhere in some form or another. It's if you have somebody who's open about the bias and what they're standing for, as opposed to somebody who's trying to present to themselves as being the enlightened centrist guy who's super objective and just leaves you with the notes to make you make a decision.
Dan, why are you suddenly playing Toho?
So like it would be Ryan Holiday and he'd show up and then instead of wearing a Trump hat like Milo did immediately, fucking Ryan Holiday would be like, I'm the super E-celeb, guys. Get your guacamole bowl here.
Man, this has worse slowdown than Kirby.
Oh, I can see it. You can see it. He's wearing the guac bowl on his head. What did Gary Johnson have? Just weed? Was that like the whole thing with him?
Not even weed. If he had weed, he would have won.
He was anti-interventionist. He could have done that.
Yeah, but he didn't have any merchandising. Gary Johnson had the Dat Boys, so fucking Ryan Holiday would show up on like a unicorn. Remember when Gary Johnson was like, "Here comes that boy," and he fucking
was. Oh.
Yeah, he'd come in. Fucking Ryan Holiday would come in on a unicycle.
You know, the only good thing that the Libertarian Party has going for it right now is Remy from Reason. The rest of Reason is trash, but Remy's good.
I don't know anything about Remy.
You know, the tragedy with Reason there was a time when Reason used to be good. In fact, Reason used to be anti-immigration. Very staunchly so. But then the Koch brothers show up on the front door, and they say, "Hey guys, nice libertarian place you have here. Shame if it would run out of money." And they just walk into the room and just throw
Daily
buckets
reminder
of cash around.
that this is why the filthy capitalist investors are the first ones to go up on
Here,
the
look at the
gallows.
Yeah. I'm glad you like them.
Before everyone takes that clip and uses it to argue I'm a communist.
I'll tell you what though, like, if Eric motherfucking King fucking actually produced and pushed out like more Gamergate positive articles, he would have gotten a lot further than where he is now.
Yeah, but you always got to remember, right? Rule 13 of the rule of power is like the one rule that everyone forgets. Everyone has a self-interest. And the main reason why Kane never went that far is his self-interest was he felt that the network that he had with
he needed
his
him.
industry professionals and his fellow journalists was more important than reaching out to the readers. And now
some of the
he's paid
dolphin
fucking
here?
price.
Yeah, it's exactly it.
Some of the dolphin here?
No. It's spikes.
Oh, you could just walk through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the time he was sitting there, and that's exactly what it is, because he's exactly the type of person nobody wants to hang around. He's always got his foot on the door instead of just jumping all the way into the room. It's like, this door, once I close it, it's I can't reopen it, so I guess I better keep my foot, right on the fucking door and basically just peek right in and say hi, but that's as far as I can go.
Yeah, you can tell in this first article, he specifically skirted around saying anything that would piss off Zoe Quinn's clique.
Exactly, and it's the same thing like Total Biscuit shit too. The same thing.
Yep. Well, in Total Biscuit's case, that one,
yeah.
Total Biscuit had the other motivation of liking Angry Joe too much, and Angry Joe not exactly having his room in order.
Right.
Angry Joe still has, if you do a Google search for "this is a sponsored video by X," leaving the letter X in there, I can get the exact phrase. If you do a search for that in quotes, the results are all Angry Joe videos, because he was too lazy to correct the sponsorship from X to the name of the sponsor.
That's fucking funny. Oh boy. Yeah, he is kind of really surprised by how messy he is. Yeah.
Yes.
That was the issue with like Eric Kane. Just like, he can scream all he wants about all the things he wants to. It's already too late. An event like this will not take place, despite like how many times people will actually try to push for an event to happen again. It just will not happen again. And pretty much this thing is going to be Eric's bane of his career, and he's going to continue to ban and block people off of fucking Twitter.
Yeah, and a lot less people are going to read Forbes.
He's like, you didn't pick me, so now I'm gonna block you.
As I say, it's kind of like I
How do you beat this guy?
You know,
Oh,
if you ever had a time machine, I said if you ever had a time machine to fix things in Gamergate, there'd be two things you'd fix immensely. Number one, you'd tell everybody about what Rule 13 is in the Rules of Power and say, if you understand this rule, you can get useful things out of people. And you don't get stuck in stupid relationships because you realize, well, you're not providing anything of use for me anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah.
You know?
Or people have to think to themselves, like, what's in it for me? Like, before they do something.
Yeah.
Another thing that would have been useful is if we'd forced everyone to read Trust Me, I'm Lying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna read
If we'd
that.
done that, then Gamergate would have been over in a week.
Yeah, but you know, you were running a high times preferencing campaign too. So that's one of the downsides. A high times preferencing campaign using a platform that encourages and induces high times preferencing behaviors. Yeah, it's going to be hard to push people to read something like Ryan Holiday's work.
This funny shit, man.
But keep in mind too, Ryan Holiday, when he was doing interviews, he did not want to talk about the Gamergate stuff at all, which was very interesting. Like, why would he be that nervous if he's that much of a PR professional?
I have no idea. That's funny.
It is, and that's a very interesting little wrinkle that I remember. It's like, when he talked about it, he said he wanted to give no comment on it, which is odd. Because a PR disaster of that built going on in public is something that he could at least give an opinion on and say, whoa, yeah, they fucked up. They shouldn't have done this. They blew it. This is how I would have done it. You know? But apparently he didn't want to answer that on Reddit for some weird reason, which is odd. We'll talk about anything else, but anytime a few people brought that up, he just didn't want to talk about it, weirdly enough. Which makes you wonder what hooks were in his neck of the woods that they told him, hey, yeah.
Sorry. Hey, 126.
Yeah, somebody begins to influence you as soon as you find yourself in agreement with somebody. So, like with Milo's case, as soon as he's like, yes, this corruption is evil, and yes, you shouldn't be sleeping with 5 guys, and you know, this is awful journalism, blah 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 blah, and the ethics and stuff. People are like, oh, I agree with you, but I'm still a leftist. I know that you're a rightist, but I will fucking respect it, you know? And then slowly changes over time, real slowly, and you slowly fucking subvert the ideology. And because they're the only person willing to talk positively about the movement, or the hashtag, these people that are coming in, you know, they're just coming in like in droves, man, in just huge amount of droves, and they're just coming in and reading all the positive things about it. And people will put their political biases, even if they don't intentionally mean to do it, into the discussion. And by that point, everyone is pretty much, you know, knowledgeable about SJWs and fucking are, you know, super red pilled and all that good shit. It's so funny how that happened. Because there were a lot of people that you meet going like, I used to be left, now I'm right.
Well, some other interesting things happened too. Have you noticed that the phrase SJW entered like common parlance now?
Yeah. It's now like a definition in the Webster
Whoever
dictionary.
made this boss is insane.
Yeah, it's great.
This boss is horrible. Like I said, any boss that rolls up into a ball is evil.
This is great. You have to use save states or something.
It's too fast for saves.
I don't even remember. I remember seeing this title screen before, but I don't fucking remember this game at all. That's the funny thing. I may have seen it in a magazine or something way back in the day. But yeah, it's like these people that you meet, they're like, yeah, I used to be on the left. No, I voted for Barack Obama. Now I'm voting for Trump. Obama. Yeah, but you see them. I know you probably didn't, but fucking you see them all the time. They're like, no, I voted for Barack Obama. Now I vote for Trump. And video games is like a huge part of the media. So, or a medium that you can, you know, of the media. So when everybody knows about like Gamergate. Like fucking like, I could talk to some random fucker that just came in from Twitch and be like, oh yeah, you remember Gamergate? And it's somebody I never fucking met, and it's like, there it is, fucking, oh yeah, Gamergate, and Anita Sarkeesian, and memes, you know, happen.
And I think the three big surprises happened were, number one, JonTron was affected in ways that people never anticipated, despite staying neutral through the whole affair. Number two, PewDiePie, obviously.
Affected, yeah.
Number three, Notch.
Yep.
And those three things kind of just meant that, like,
don't forget William Shatner.
Well, William Shatner was always this.
That was late. That was late game when he started showing his power level.
But yeah, they were all latent. They didn't show up during. They all showed up afterwards.
Yes.
With espousing a set of views that you completely not expect.
Well, you know what's most interesting about Notch, right? Margaloo, a few years ago, I think it was in 2015, she pointed out what was very interesting is that Notch ended up being personally visited by Quinn and Sarkeesian at the same, and Anita at the same damn time. Which I was going, oh, that's a very interesting wrinkle why he's being semi-neutral. So at the time, I think when because eventually he revealed this straight up on his Twitter. He said, look, I just tolerated you guys because, okay, you got a +1, you came into a party that was unfucking invited, because I think some of the Indie Clique folks he sort of kind of knew dragged those two into his private place. And at the time, he said, well, I thought, you know, you were somewhat reasonable, but now I discover you're just a cunt. And he just, and you know, a few years, and you know, if you have an industry professional, if you're an industry guy who's made it, who basically says, hey, you know, even after the storm has died down, and he's calling out blatantly on Twitter saying, this woman is a cunt, stay away from her, you know, that's like, that in the long run might do more damage without a tag. You know,
yeah.
That's the funny thing, you know. I think part of the issue in the long run is, as I say, you know, some people say, well, I think it failed, and I go, I don't know, it was a failure. There were structural failures that were kind of built into it from day one. Yeah, I'm
going to say one thing. If your goal was ethics in video games journalism, that failed.
Oh yeah, that definitely failed. But what's weirdly happened is, even people I think who sort of disagreed with it at the beginning, over time, I think they've looked back on it and they said, the kids were kind of right to call this out. This looks weird. You know?
You get a lot of censorship on YouTube, and there's still people screwing my ethics.
Yeah, well, as I say, once again, it's Rule 13. You can't ignore Rule 13.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you gotta, I mean, there must be days when Templar must drill some of those rules into the heads of other folks on 8chan. It's like, no, you idiots. It's Rule 13. That's why he's acting this way. He's not telling you about what he really wants. You know?
No.
And
you got him to a new phase there, Dan.
No, fucking,
Yeah, he was doing bounce, bounce, bounce attack instead of bounce, 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 bounce attack. You did get him to a new phase.
People back then were always saying, you know, you have to follow the money to find out their intention. No. And people didn't want to do that either.
The other problem, too, was a lot of people didn't record certain reasons why they went to certain people as spokespersons, especially in the case of Sargon. The problem is, what should have happened after Sargon started going wonky is there should have been records. You know, I mean, I know it's been rumored that there's some stuff somewhere that suggests how Monday Matt suggested Sargon as a speaker, but nobody has those records. That was like the
Twitter feed.
Yeah, but do we have archives?
Okay,
though?
I will say there's some interesting records that exist in streams. I'll tell you a few streams that are really interesting. The very first stream on the Hats channel, I think it's just called the Kotaku in Action stream. Total Biscuit drops by and starts talking about paid promotions. interesting thing to listen to. Another interesting stream is there was a stream early on that Internet Aristocrat ran that had the following people drop by. Sargon of Akkad, Total Biscuit, and I think there were a few others too. I think King of Pole was there maybe. I'm not sure about King of Pole. But the two very, very interesting ones were Sargon and Total Biscuit. I think that a lot of what ended up being set in stone about, as far as the who's who was done via these streams.
Yeah, as I say, I think that was a strategic error that not a lot of people who were involved noticed.
It was too lazy to make a real video. He just wanted to dick around.
Well, as I say, the question is, those streams may be useful, but we still don't, as I say, we're never going to find the Rosetta Stone that explained who out of the diggers said, you know what, I can trust going to Sargon as the presenter for this. And I think that was the big error. Because a lot of people did not, let me put it this way. Everything you needed to know about why Sargon was bad was exposed on that Steven Crowder stream. All of it. You want to know how he debated, you could see that from the way he speaks, talks to Crowder. You could see the way he sort of skirted around a lot of the Digress stuff. There's just so much in that Steven Crowder interview with Sargon that exposes just so many tactical errors that were made with that guy.
Do we want to pop that in the side tube sometime, or would that just be too cringy for everyone?
Yes.
Yes, it would be too cringy, or yes, you want to watch it?
For cringy.
Maybe at some time when my internet is pure potato.
They say it's a big thing, because I was pointing out even to guys like Arini. I said, Arini, you want to know why Sargon got this big? It's because the Diggers entrusted him as a presenter, and they didn't have a backup plan when IA was getting doxxed, because I mean his farewell stream hid the fact that his girlfriend was getting hit hard by these people. Like, it's one of those things that got sort of known around the channels, but you know, IA didn't have the balls to say these people are fucking dangerous. And you should take this a little more seriously.
We can lay down some canon here. Like, here's some interesting things that aren't widely known, right?
I was doxxed because, and you can thank Crunchyroll for that, at least in part. Though it's his idiot fault for signing up.
So here's some other things that people forget. Now, this isn't canon. This is oral history. This is something that has been repeated to me a few times. Is that first of all, an observation, and that is the people who dig can't present. That's largely true. The people who dig, their mind is not structured in such a way that they can effectively put together a presentation. However, what they can do is they can dump it on image boards. So what you saw a lot of in the early days was these info dumps happening on image boards. So the rough structure in the early days was, as I understood it, the following. People would dig and would dump it on image boards. Then the image boards would discuss it and kind of act like a think tank, where they would turn all the information together and craft narratives around it. But of course, they're in the image board style of discussion, so that's not really easy for outsiders to comprehend. Then what would happen is that people in various chat communities, mostly on IRC, would go around and curate the best narratives and would send them along to people who ran YouTube channels and Reddit and other public-facing people, and then they would cover the digs through that channel. So it wasn't raw information being handed to YouTubers. It was raw information being discussed in a think tank-like environment that was then curated for quality and sent to them PR newswire style. And this was largely organic. This wasn't intentionally structured that way.
Yeah.
Pro tip. Presentation ain't that hard. Learn it.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of is. I mean,
User joined your channel.
Dropping by very briefly.
Pro tip: no one gives a fuck.
There's a reason why you when you have a script, you need a certain puka to read it.
Oh yeah.
It takes a certain like. I'm
It's
not
also
trying to toot
because
my own horn
Rain
here, but
mumbles
it's
his way through arguments, and then there's this tangent.
you basically need what I would describe as acting skill in order to make a compelling audio presentation.
Yeah.
Need charisma.
Yeah.
You can't just do it in text.
Yeah, that's
So,
why writing
yeah.
articles is
So in an awkward, so I think one of the key things that was kind of discovered with the ed tech digs, as I went through some of it, is on the one hand, the journalist stuff and the more goofier, hipster aspects of the enemy side was covered very well by Jim. Jim does an impeccable job, and he's got a great voice to present this sort of stuff in that manner. But for the Digger stuff, it got dumped onto Sargon. And Sargon's presentation style is mostly a case of him going, "No, you," and that's it. With a ancient Babylonian statue face. And
well,
it's
he
not...
also he has this problem of Sargon does this thing where he advances his rhetoric just to the point where he has a gotcha response to something. Like it's like he's building up a dictionary. If the opponent says this, my gotcha response is this, and so on and so forth. And he just builds it up. And the issue is his gotcha responses are all surface level. So once he learns just enough about a subject to form a gotcha, he doesn't really go any deeper than that.
Yeah, because I would say that the biggest bomb that really should have been dropped from the Digger stuff is, it's like, how do I put it this way?
Well, I'll put it this way. When I first saw his Dagger videos, I had no idea what he was talking about. It completely went over my head.
There's because I say, if you go back to, because if you want to go back to some interesting digs you could have pushed to make the Digger stuff work better, you point out their links to, say, organizations like, was it, I'm not thinking Yu-Gi-Oh! Sorry, not, the big marketing company firm out of Britain run by that, run by that lady. Well, why am I forgetting its name now? Yu-Gi-Oh! If I remember correctly? Well, I said Yu-Gi-Oh! Templar. Or UGA.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't tell me anything. All I remember from the Digger shit was Silver String Media, and then when I saw who was affiliated with Silver String, I'm like, it's a who's who of all the cancer! What the fuck is this shit? Who are you people? Where the fuck did
Not
you come
Yu-Gi-Oh!
from? Yeah, Fab has problems pronouncing the white man's words. I apologize in advance. We're still training him.
UBM Tech. And that...
Oh yeah, UBM.
Yes,
UBM.
So the big hook should have been telling all of the gaming folks, listen guys, UBM is just there to soak you for money and knowledge. That's it. They're not there to really help you produce, quality product that's going to go out to the private market. The end goal of companies like UBM is to get into what they call enterprise business, which education is a part of. That's basically code word for, hey, we just want to produce products that the taxpayer will be on the bill for, so they never have to produce anything of value ever again. And that's something that, Dan, you nailed, that you and QQ nailed correctly in the Gone Home video.
I was searching for rent in all the wrong places. Searching for rent in a sea of white faces.
I remember when.
Sorry.
Yeah, because that was one of the things that was pointed out in one of your videos about Gone Home, was that they made Yeah, rent seeking from the public. And if you sell that to parents, they'll say, well, first of all, they're going to encourage their kids not to go into video games because of the Hollywood-like atmosphere. They just say, hey, listen, the end goal is to not allow you to make anything that you would want. The end goal is to basically get you trapped in some company producing crappy educational software where you'll barely get paid, but the head guy's going to walk off with all the cash. But more importantly, I'm going to be on the hook for it. So no, don't go into that business. You know, or
so here's the thing that really annoyed me about Sargon's Digra work is just like how I said before, how he kind of has the gotcha and that's all that he needs, is he considered that to be the absolute last word on Gamers Are Dead. Whereas, because he's basically like, well, I've solved it now, it's this Adrian Shaw paper, and that's all that there is to say about it. Whereas really, that's not the case at all. It was a much more complicated narrative that had been building up for almost, since the early 2000s?
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's an example of, you know, rent. Templar summed it up. Rent seeking. Lots and lots of various forms of rent seeking out of the public. If there had been more of a focus on that, you know, even telling, you know, most developers, hey guys, you shouldn't trust UVM Tech. They're just there to get $200 out of the door for a quote-unquote networking event. You could network with anybody you want at any given time. Their end goal is they want to seek rent out of you because you're the guy who's producing the product, not them.
Yeah, and they have their workshops and their vault that you can access and all this stuff. It's all just like a racket.
It's a big old racket. And it's questionable whether or not it's of any benefit to anyone.
Nope. I mean, I'll say this, if Sargon ever ran out of material, he could just pay for an all-access pass and he'd never run out again.
Yeah, but he's done with video games.
This is just proof, as I'll keep on saying, that every last fucker in GG at the top of the celeb pile was a raging massive bigot who, like, didn't get it, and who probably was okay with the fucking lefties doing what they were doing.
No. Let me go a little bit further than I did before, because I said, right, that there was this structure in place. Well, that structure in place didn't last very long. Basically, once Jim left, there was no line between the image boards and the presenters anymore. It was gone. And there are now mountains upon mountains of dig results that were found on the image boards that have had zero compelling presentation to the public whatsoever. And a little bit later after that, the image boards started breaking down too, and they didn't even produce good results anymore.
Well, part of the problem is some of the people running those image boards were 9th graders.
Yeah, let me go over that too, because there's next to no public knowledge of this. So, the initial board on 8chan for GG was run by an underage band named Nico of Death. Now, having underage people run your image boards is a really, really bad idea, because they have to deal with a whole bunch of garbage that people of that age shouldn't be exposed to. Because it's their job to remove it, and it's going to end up being bad for them emotionally, and possibly questionable legal grounds to have them looking at that stuff all the time. So, of course, he ended up wigging out and giving it to GNAA, if I recall. And so then it was replaced by someone else called Blade. Everyone calls him Blade E because he used to have 2 E's at the end of his name, but that's just because Blade was taken on Twitter, so he had an extra E. So everyone just calls him Blade. Blade ran it for a while. The entire logs from March, the entire administration logs are out there if you want to go read them. But basically, he had a few health issues. Compounded with that, people were treating him very disrespectfully. Not only that, he also got sick of GG, and he basically wigged out and decided that he was also going to hand over the board to GNAA or Pterodax or whoever he could hand it over to. I forget who he actually ended up handing it over to. It wasn't Pterodax. Was it Slav? Did he hand it to Sirius Slav? Or someone else?
A-team.
Yes, but there was someone specific that he gave it to.
Yes, it's Slav and the other fucking assorted A-team faggots.
Anyway, that board burned down, so they tried to create a replacement, and 2 replacements ended up existing. Gamergate HQ ran by Acid Man, who was from Operator Chan, and who had written all these guides on how to overthrow the government, how to blow up tanks, how to build bombs, how to mass-produce C4.
What's more interesting to me is how not a lot of people kept a good track of who this guy was.
Yeah, all we know is...
He posted all sorts of crap in the V thread that no one knew about until after GG Revolt dug into him.
Oh yeah, but the point though is, at the time, it never occurred to anybody to say, well, the last 3 board guys flamed out.
Well, yeah, because they barely had any time to look.
Exactly. So once again, high times preferencing campaign. High times kills, people. High
Bullshit.
times kills.
I'll tell you exactly what went down. The fucking E-celebs from the...
Bye, Templar.
The fucking E-celebs from low-paying... What? Hello?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Templar.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yes.
As I was about to say, the thing that killed the GG boards was the fact that the E-celebs said, everyone, the GGHQ is the new board, go there now! So
Well,
nobody bothered digging into fucking Acid Man and all the shit he was doing.
No.
And
There's
don't
a
even
bit of a
try to
problem,
argue
too.
this point
So,
with
wait.
me, Q, because I remember this
I'm not
shit
arguing.
like fucking...
I'm not going to argue that point. You're correct.
No, no way.
They were looking for a replacement board, and 2 boards were created, right? GGHQ and GG2. Or was it just bringing back the old GG board? I think it was bringing back the old GG board. Yeah. Anyway, what ended up happening is, yes, most of these celebs endorsed GGHQ, including people like Lo Ping, and for some reason Mark Kern. But then what ended up killing the other board was that Meowstick Goes Nya, the Kotaku in Action moderating trans person, I think? I don't know if they were still Kotaku in Action moderators at that point. They aren't anymore. That's for certain. Let it out that there was a giant DM group where a whole bunch of I think all the previous board owners, Nico and Blade, I know Blade for certain, but also a whole bunch of weird people, like people who are quote-unquote A-team, people who,
Izzy Galvez.
Izzy Galvez, of all people, yeah, where they were in a DM group, and they were the ones who were kind of running the board. So after that, GGHQ was kind of the only shop in town, like...
Except for burgers and fries.
Yeah, but no one was ever going to use burgers and fries.
Why? It was run by the same people who ran the previous board.
Yeah, but, like... People flip out over the burgers and fries names because it was perjured so heavily.
Gee, it's not like there's a law of power that says something about that or anything. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, I'll keep going back to my laws of power, so fuck you!
I'm going to have to personally say here on this stream, I will come over and get an actual copy and slap your face with it for mocking that book, because there is
I have a
some
digital copy
actual,
of it. I can send it to you later.
Like, I've read some chapters of it. Hell, sometimes at work I used to listen to the old presentation of it, and there's some very useful stuff in that book. And just saying Malaz one rules of power is missing a point. This is observations, like right down to the last law, the 48th law, which is about being formless. People, I think, got so damn near hung up on the stupid Gigi name. Even the guy who wrote the Titan post sort of didn't. I think he missed the biggest thing of all. He said, "Look, you know what? Maybe you don't need the tag
Learn to
anymore."
adapt.
And then maybe what should happen is you just say, "Hey, you know what? At this point, we can make any old tag to push the same stuff around, and we'd just be as successful."
So, there was something else that was interesting. Okay, so we've gone over the board's life. Then something interesting happened that hasn't been talked a lot about publicly, and I didn't really go over it much in my video. But there was several very large arguments between Acid Man and a couple diggers. SHG, Noct, and Zan were the ones involved in this in a big way. And what ended up happening was there's a massive spurg fit because SHG Noct posted something about Rand Corporation? And...
yes. In the case of Nact, she believed that the goofy level of secrecy that was going on about said information was probably not of benefit to the people digging and assembling stuff from it. So she basically exposed some of the randomy stuff that they were collecting from Rand on it. And there was a lot of information, but it was very much unsorted. And I think they were trying to sort out the...
CF1.
And I think they were trying to sort out some of the connections...
User disconnected from your channel.
That, Instigative Gamer was pointing out way early on about how there were some, DARPA projects and trying to figure out how to use, MMORPGs to stop terrorism, or to use it to spread counter-propaganda to stop it. Needless to say, I think a lot of their efforts kind of went up in smoke.
You're talking about that Rand Corporation study where they were looking into fucking connections terrorists sometimes used in MMOs and shit like that.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of stuff.
Programs. Yeah, it was a bunch of stuff. I remember this because, Instigative Journalism was digging into some of that shit back in 2012, 2013, and found that the NSA had been using some of its Black Funds budget in order to look into shit like that.
So,
I mean, fuck.
This was all dumped by Noct. Someone flipped out. Who flipped out over it? Was it Seattle? Or Zan? Or both?
A bunch of people flipped out over that shit.
Well,
but I don't remember specifics, because I think by this point I had already had enough of this shit.
Fab, do you remember specifics? Was it Zan? I want to say it was Zan.
I think it was... Zan was the most public one. Most of on the boards, and I don't think I had fully hit the IRC yet, but on the boards I was seeing a lot of diggers who were kind of looking at more of the Skype networked folks and kind of going, well, what's the point of hiding all of this? Most of this stuff doesn't even look like it's shocking information. Most of it's public,
So, but what ended up happening is that someone started a competing thread to Noct's and then used their clout with Acid Man in order to get it stickied instead. They got Noct's unstickied and theirs stickied, and I want to say it was Zan who did that. But I'm not sure. I don't have a clear recollection. So it was either Seattle or Zan or someone did that.
I don't think it was Seattle, or if it was, it must have been in the shadows, because I didn't really see him. I didn't really see him be that public until the GG Revolt board started up.
Yeah, so it must have been Zan then. And then what ended up happening is everyone came out, a whole bunch of people involved in this dig came out of this incident unsatisfied with Acid Man. So what they did is they went to poll and they started a thread there saying we don't like the board owner. Yeah, they went to poll and they start. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
They went to poll. They said we don't like the board owner. Look at all the censorship he's doing. And he was doing some crazy things like the purge.
Yes,
he'll say it was completely rational or whatever, but it was odd. That purge, like
purge was retarded.
Yeah, calling it the purge, changing the rules temporarily while the purge was in place. Going super ban happy and trigger finger happy.
It was basically the same fucking thing that always happens whenever you're a fucking control freak and you don't have any shackles on your control freak shit. You gotta ban everyone that won't toe the line.
See, and the other problem too is there was a promise that Hot Wheels had made that if another Gamergate board felt like this again, he was supposed to step in and turf Acid Man. But he didn't want to honor that promise anymore because he got burned out by the last time he directly involved himself in SP.
So yeah, that's another reason, incidentally, why I say fucking Hot Wheels can go die in a fire.
So is he not dead yet?
I hate everyone.
I hate everyone, but Rain, betraying your word is instant grounds for me to not like you.
Speaking of betraying your word, remember how Acid Man said he wouldn't go on any streams? Because that was corrupting the board owners?
Was the little theory that was going around that him and Cannabis Curtis are the same person, right? How true do you think that is now?
No.
Nope. Cannabis Curtis went never Trump.
So,
yeah, dude. It doesn't matter, really, whether that's it. It's like Cannabis Curtis and Acid Man's respective autisms are so different that all you had to do was interact with one or the other, and you got a very clear idea of which one.
No. We can confirm it now. I remember what Cannabis Curtis' voice sounds like. Now we have recordings of what Acid Man's voice sounds like. We can listen to them and see how likely it is, because he could be a really good voice actor, but we can see how likely it is that they're the same person. And I'm gonna say they're not. Anyway, we're gonna derail again.
But yeah, let's go. Keep going.
So they went to poll and they're like, what do we do? And poll was like, you're shitting up our board, we don't really want you here, but we'll let you have a containment thread where you can discuss this. So they threw around a whole bunch of different ideas, let's go to another board. Let's go to burgers and fries. That didn't go very far. Let's go, and then the final one was, let's just make our own board. And they did, and they named it GG Revolt. And that's how that board got made. And that entire board was basically everything that we don't like about Acid Man we're going to do differently here. So we're not going to have stickies or containment threads or anything like that. We're not going to ban just about anybody. We're not going to censor just about anything. Is who the original board owner was still secret information, or is that well known now?
Oh, we all know who he is now. It's
the original.
Oh, the original.
The original. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that general knowledge yet?
I don't know. I mean, for all we know, is someone who has never had a public name tied to Gamergate. So.
Nah, I know who it is, but I probably shouldn't say it publicly.
Look, all I know is that Zan was deeply involved in GG Revolt.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you're gonna sit there and tell me he wasn't the board owner at some point, I don't want to. Don't believe
there were
you. And
3 or 4 different board owners. I think it's publicly known that he was the first. It's either him
not
or
that I
someone
care,
else.
because he came out
So
and outed
that explains
himself.
some other things. For example, that guy had reasons to be pissed at Acid Man because of the huge fight over the Rand dig. And B, Acid Man had a reason to dislike a board created by someone who you consider to be a rival like that. So, that is a little piece of GG Revolt mythology that really isn't that public.
Well, it is now. too late.
Not that I care, because as I keep saying, any of the faggots from Acid Man to everyone else is a fucking faggot to me, and they can fight me IRL if they got a problem.
So another thing is, people keep saying I defend the GG Revolt board. I really don't. It was never good. It had a few good posts on it, a few good threads on it. The main asset that it had was that it allowed the things that the other boards didn't allow.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Because basically,
it got some good work done. Allison Prime wouldn't have been exposed without it because KIA was censoring it, and Dread Morgan was playing Defense Squad for some reason and trying to defend.
And everyone else now wants to try to take that away from GG Revolt because my Twitter threads prove this. No, they didn't, because all that shit was sourced from GG Revolt, you fucking turbo retards. That was their dig. And yeah, go on.
So yeah, Allison Rapp as well. Everyone named Allison had a bad day when GG Revolt got involved. Allison Rapp, like KIA, there were things that came up during that dig that KIA was just like, get this off my board. I do not want this here. And a lot of the digging ended up on GG Revolt because that was the only place that tolerated the info dumps. The level of digging that was allowed. And yes, it did go after E-celebs. It attacked a lot of quote-unquote pro-GG E-celebs. And everyone drags out that image. Look, 50% of these threads were attacking pro-GG E-celebs.
So you're against free speech?
Who cares?
I got a better answer. Number one, it wasn't true, and I proved that when Scrump Monkey tried to pull that shit. And I'm like, no, this is the catalog. These are the fucking E-celeb complaint threads. Everything else in this image isn't complaining about it. You're full of shit. Kill yourself. So yeah, go on.
But why would you care if they were? I mean, that's the entire thing.
I don't, but it's like, they have to lie about it. That's the real fucking problem. Oh, shit.
So, but yeah, the board was never really good. It had a benefit, and that benefit was that it allowed discussion of things that other places didn't allow, and that's basically it. It had a few quality threads, very high quality threads, but not very many.
Well, that's because basically, by that point, any quality people that mattered were on the IRCs.
Yeah, and then...
And just doing their own shit, and just spreading what they wanted, where they wanted, and they just didn't care about the tag anymore. Which is... It should have evolved to that at that point, saying, you know what, the tag's not needed, we can use any tag, and we can get all the results.
Yeah.
You know. But it's well, as I say, in the case of GG Revolt, towards the end, you know, they started with, you know, making hay about E-celebs. Then they started having a whole bunch of people boosting their own E-celebs.
Yeah. That actually ended up being a big problem, is that GG Revolt got its own E-celebs, and what genuinely killed it, and I posted about this on Twitter, and it caused a lot of controversy, and Acid Man came after me for saying it. I hope he's watching this stream, or that he'll watch it someday, because he'll find a lot of little sound bites from it to try and go, aha! But a lot of this is stream of consciousness. I mean, I'm not really thinking this through very heavily, so he can soundbite it as much as he wants, and I can explain myself later.
I don't think
he can claim I'm only
terrible waifus.
Agreed. So the real problem was that a whole bunch of those quote-unquote GG Revolt E-celebs all got in a big DM group together, and it got really bad. It was really bad. So, I'm not going to talk too much about what happened in it because, you know, it's a DM group. You're not supposed to do that.
Templar will, if you ask him.
But I honestly think that, like, they were kind of asking for it, to be honest. Like, I would notice I would say something that went against the V orthodoxy, the V board's orthodoxy, and all of a sudden all these people would gang up on me and would try and set me straight, and it was like, where are all these faggots coming from? It's almost like they're all in a group together, and then it's leaked. Yes, they're all in several groups together. They're in a Discord together, they're in a DM group together, and so forth. And then it was like, finally, these Gigi Rivaldi celebs do the same thing, and I end up in that DM group, and they're getting the taste of their own medicine, and they can't handle it. Like, that's really what a lot of the sour grapes about GGR were, is that finally the tables were turned, and they couldn't handle it. The problem is just like the V DM group and Discord and everything like that, this DM group was also ended up generating absolute cancer and not much good. So,
well, it's kind of like, how else you say, it's, when you have something that's that exciting, that pumps your mental adrenaline and turns on your almonds, you know, you gotta have a certain temperament to not get obsessed about what you're... That's like, your reputation is something you need to guard, but at the same time, you know, the way all social media works is it's all designed to be a honeypot, and it's all designed to be, it's late at night and I can't even remember the term for it. But basically, it's designed to be a Skinner box, right? That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with using a Skinner box as long as you are always aware that it is a Skinner box. Then you know how you can use it for your benefit, and then you know when to walk away from it. But a lot of folks who got into this, you know, for some of them, they aren't aware that they're in a Skinner box.
I already says there's guard and then there's being overly defensive.
Yeah. By the way, most of the time when people were saying how much they dislike BG Revolt, they were talking about people from that DM group. People knew it was there even though they couldn't prove it was there.
I think at this point, Acid Man is like so sunk below the pyramid of E-celeb hierarchy that I don't think he can really do much of anything at this point.
No, he's trying to salvage it with his streams with the hat, but
nope. Yeah, in the same way that Nutscrape is trying to salvage things with his streams, the ones that get 85 people on board. Woo!
Yeah, I mean, we get more viewers on some of our videos than Acid and the Hat get on his, and we're just playing NES games.
Well, I mean, look at it this way: we're shitposting.
Go next.
I think the trick to it is this. We shitpost about some of this stuff, but at the same time, we're also just shooting the shit, which is how all this crap began in the first place. You know?
Yeah, I don't do this with the plan about being super serious. I'm just having fun here, and if a serious discussion happens to erupt, that's a bonus.
Yeah. Or as one of Marini's streams I kind of listened to, is he said, look, man, it's not about building up debates. Debates don't really achieve much. It's the dialogue that usually matters more.
The truth of the matter. That's what's important.
Varric, you still there? Any idea where I'm supposed to go next?
No, Varric hasn't been here for a while, bro.
I mean, watching the video.
The NES was an amazing achievement. But basically, they finally realized, what if these old 8-bit computers had a tile engine and a sprite engine in them? And a music chip. And, well, they'd done music chips before. The Commodore 64 had a music chip. But the combination of those two things, the sprite engine and the tile engine, I don't know what the tile engine's formally called, basically offloaded a bunch from the CPU. I mean, the NES had the same CPU that everything else had at the time. All those other 8-bit computers, that Motorola 6 whatever CPU. But it just performed so much better because it offloaded a lot of the drawing to a separate chip.
Oh, hey! And that's something that we're kind of doing today. And we have graphics cards, etc.
Yeah.
Which is actually interesting because you know that was it some of the better programmers at was it Nintendo, especially for companies like what am I thinking of? The guys who do the Kirby games. HAL, yeah. Several of the head programmers in its founding days actually did a lot of work for the PET Commodore computer. It's like there's an episode of Retronauts which talks about that. But that was very interesting to know, is that, you know, there were Japanese companies, you know, doing some work for hire stuff on the Commodore PET and 64 computers that would later on use those same sort of techniques for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, I think the Commodore 64 had a sprite engine too, but it was very rudimentary.
Yeah, Commodore. You had so many great things before your time. Ah. Well, Placebo, the biggest tell for me was I was kind of walking away from Sargon after some of his early vids because a lot of his stuff really didn't have much intellectual stuff to them. So I sort of quickly unsubscribed from his channel after a few months I was subscribed to it. But the biggest tell for me, Placebo, with that Steven Crowder interview was the moment that basically Sargon told me that he was on welfare in his 20s. And I was like, this guy's not serious about what he's doing at all. I'm sorry. I've heard too many stories in Britbong land about folks just not choosing to work and going on Pogi because of how nonsensically generous the welfare system is down there. I mean, up there.
Alright.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
So I had
I
a
heard
bad
about it, but I
experience
didn't
with
really
Sargon.
pay much attention to his personal life.
Well, let me put it this way. Sometimes there are things in a human being's personal life that can kind of tell you what they're sort of going to be like.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean that you were wrong, I just meant that I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. But as I say, it was this, as I said, there's so much revealed in the Steven Crowder interview about Sargon that so many people just ignored at the time. But I watched it and I said, "Oh gosh, this guy's not as smart as a lot of people foolishly think he is." Like, there's a guy I listened to, Louis Laval. Louis Laval puts out better stuff than he does, and yet he still thinks that he's like a big guy, you know? There's a lot of people who put out better stuff who first saw Sargon. But the stuff they put out is far better than what Sargon puts out, you know?
Right.
I mean,
I think I mentioned my bad experience with Sargon related to the whole airplay thing. I think I've talked about that to death. That really, like, just really got me thinking, and I was like... my takeaway was, 1, he wants this whole GG thing to end, and 2, he wants it to end before people start looking at YouTubers. And I was just like, well, why would he want that? Does he have some skeleton in his closet or something like that?
Well, it's far simpler. It's like, YouTube is really his livelihood, and he's never worked a day in the private sector. Or rather, he does.
Yeah,
he's quite bluntly said that he's quit jobs while he's in the private sector to go back on Pogi. That says everything to me.
Oh, so yeah, it was so like bizarre to me because I was kind of excited to go on that Skype call with him because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be on a call with Sargon, and then just to have it be him basically defending career YouTubers. That was my main takeaway from it, was that he doesn't want people to talk about career YouTubers at Airplay. Why would that be? And then the whole canon thing in the future basically shows why. It's because a lot of people in that that line of work, make money that way. Exactly the same way as we're making money during the Shadows Warder controversy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, man, I was sucked in by his whole,
Such a maze.
what he attracted people with was, you can disagree with this, but still be a leftist and be comfy.
Yes.
And
it's not just a maze. Oh wow, this goes in a complete circle.
And you can't.
No, you can't. But as I say, the key thing for folks like myself is that I say, look, if you're very honest about what your stakes are in something, I can work with that. I'm not going to have any big issues with that. But if you're going to be very deceitful about what it is you want, you're not just lying to me, you're lying to yourself. And you're going to be very disappointed when you suddenly discover that, because you're not frank about what it is that you want out of the deal, that you get nothing out of the deal.
Well, what really annoys me is, and this is kind of really petty of me, but there's plenty of people who completely disagree with him who still play with the Have you noticed that he's kind of at the center of a YouTube circle jerk?
Oh yeah.
Where it's like all these people who have these slightly different opinions get into big arguments with each other and things like that, and make reply videos and do streams together, and I don't know, it just doesn't...
Well, hey, that'll be over in a year or two.
It just feels like they're generating content.
That's clearly exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
and that's what his debate with Millennial Woes showed me, and it's why I stopped watching him when I was 19. Because if you've got your entire channel that's dedicated to, a culture war, and then if you have a guy come on, and you say, wait, no, it's not a culture war, it's pretty obvious that you're just saying things.
Yeah, and that drove me crazy during GG too, is a whole bunch of these people who are like, it's about ethics in games journalism. If you actually looked at what was on their channel, no, that's not what they were talking about.
Right. I think what you're saying with, like, I think it was Fab actually saying that he just wanted things to go back to normal. But,
yep.
It's very specifically, back to normal means back to what was happening just before this event happened. There's never any critical thought about, okay, what might have happened before this that followed the same pattern? Like, what...
There's no thought about how far down the slope you already were.
Yeah, exactly.
Crap, I shouldn't have sold the warp boots. funny though, once you really look into it, you can trace this SJW crap all the way back to even the 30s. And it wouldn't surprise me if someone comes out later on and says they found something in the late 19th century that's an example of it.
It's funny to think about it. Like, Sargon's kind of like a Fox News conservative. You know, because it's the left's job to make gains, and it's the conservatives' job to stop anybody from messing with those gains.
I thought it was Drybone's job to make games.
Yeah, that actually has me wondering. I haven't seen any Sargon videos in 2 years. Have his policies shifted? Like, is he still against gender stuff, or is that too edgy for him now? Because I would have predicted that would be too edgy for him now.
Now, what he does is his politics kind of shift with the window.
Right. Oh, so it's more to the right now?
Let's put it this way. He's no longer triangulating between he's no longer triangulating between Milo and Anita Sarkeesian. He's now triangulating between Edgy Sphinx / Braving Ruin and trying to think of some leftist figure, but you get the idea.
I actually don't know who Braving Ruin is, so I don't.
He's Edgy Sphinx.
I don't know who Edgy Sphinx is either. Oh, Kraut and T. Yeah, I know him.
No, he's not Kraut and T.
Skeptics. No, the person he's triangulating with is Braving Ruin and Kraut and T.
Oh, yeah. Or if you want another example, he's trying to triangulate between Kraut and T and Naked Ape.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you mean by triangulate here.
He looks at... I'm probably using the word wrong, because I think it actually has a political meaning. But he looks at two figures that... Or two or three figures that he sees as having the discussion. The important political discussion of the time. And then he positions himself between them.
Okay, the way you used triangulating before was to work with your enemy against another goal, so that was confusing me a bit.
No, that's the same concept.
So he's doing the same thing? He's not averaging
when I
between
say
two values?
triangulate in that, it's not that you're working with your enemy, it's that if you find an enemy who you have some aspect of common ground with, what you can do is position yourself in such a way that when you are achieving their goals and they are achieving their goals, you're achieving this third goal. Maybe I'm explaining it badly. Maybe I do mean different types of Maybe I do mean different types of triangulation. Yeah, because in the one sense, I mean, you have one opinion, the other person has another opinion, but you have this one thing in common, and so you can push along a vector which accomplishes that one thing that you have in common.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant originally.
Yeah, in this sense, I mean something very different. You
mean an average between the values?
Yes, as in you look at the current Overton window, and you pick two people within it.
Oh, come on, it completely missed me.
Who are on the side of the Overton window that you think it should be pushed in, and then you set yourself between the two, so in the terms of debate, you seem like the rational one.
Yeah, that's what I assumed he was doing, so I was wondering if he had shifted further to the left on some issues or further to the right on others, or what the general mode of that was, because I don't know if, gender stuff is more mainstream than it was a couple of years ago, whether or not he would consider that too edgy, or
Nope.
on the other hand...
Nah, it's gone the other way. I mean, the problem is that people already believe that men and women are basically interchangeable, which means that you can't really go beyond that, because there's no point in having, like, third gender or any of that garbage if men and women are already basically the same in your opinion.
So he's not going after the pronoun stuff, is what you're saying?
Nah.
Okay. I should just watch a couple of videos real fast rather than asking all these questions.
Nah.
It's worth doing it just to see where he is.
I guess. His one on, I still think his one on the, what's his name, the current year guy, where he's...
John Oliver.
Yeah, John Oliver. He did a video on John Oliver in 2015, I think. Oh yeah, the drum. He did a response to the drum video. That one was kind of interesting, but it also was... It was just him talking in front of a camera.
2015 will always be the current year.
The whole drum thing just confuses me. Why is that treated as a gotcha?
Bruce Jenner.
Because he's German, and that means that, there are immigrants in his family, so they were trying to do something with that. There's not a lot there.
No, there really isn't, because that's, like, he's of European descent.
That's why it's dumb.
This is a maze. Where am I supposed to go?
And did his relatives come over illegally? Did they hop the border?
No, you're thinking too hard about it.
his wife is
Remember, there's like
illegal.
the Statue of Liberty, and that means immigrants. That's literally as far as it goes. What do you mean illegal immigrants? There's a Statue of Liberty.
Well, I don't have any right to talk about that. Didn't WAP become a slur for Italians because of without papers?
I don't know about that. I only know Irish memes.
Kim,
gonna
do
look
you
that
want
up.
to watch me beat this game? Because it's not fun anymore. Because I don't know I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I need to go. Everything poisons me now. Everything. That or it paralyzes me, and then I gotta use that stupid spell, and uses a bunch more magic power, so I can't do anything.
Oh no! Apparently that's not true. The rumor that WAP was an acronym for without passport or without papers is not true. It actually comes from the Southern Italian term guapo, which meant thug or pimp or swaggerer. Okay, so I guess.
I'm almost done with it, though. I just have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
Have you thought of looking at Nintendo Power?
You want to look it up? I mean, it's on.
Not right now,
arcade.org.
but we can look it up later if you really want to.
Sure. What the heck? Let me go back to town and save.
Alright, so should we call it a night and then do that later?
Yeah.
Alright, so next time on Crystalis stream, we're gonna have Nintendo Power with us. I actually really like reading old Nintendo Powers.
Yeah, you can read it for me.
But the funny thing is I probably like part of the, not the entire entertainment, but part of the entertainment from it is nostalgia, because I can actually pull up the Nintendo Powers that my friends used to have and read them. And that is a nostalgia trip and a half. Holy crap. But part of the amusement I get from Nintendo Powers is how they did image editing before they had good software for it. Some of the Photoshops are terrible, and they're laughable now. It's great. Because I think that they were actually just getting scissors and cutting images and collaging them together. Hey, thanks, Raz. Can I call you Raz for short?
Ooh, thanks for the sub. Remember to click that bell.
Downward spiral, downward spiral.
We're gonna review this for the channel, unless I see that James Rolfe has already done a video on it. Because really, I'm just gonna say the same exact things he's going to. It's gonna be exactly like him because there's nothing really more to say other than the controls. Okay, the controls are fine. The way that you it's basically a magic game. You shoot a bunch of magic at people and then and that's not really compelling. It's not fun to play. The enemies are really annoying, especially the ones with the flails. All the stupid power-ups are annoying because you got to open the menu to use them and close it again. That's just really, really cumbersome. They could have handled it so much better.
No, come on, that's not what James Rolfe would say. James Rolfe would say,
he would say it like
this
that.
game sucks. I'd rather have a crow fly over and take a shit on my forehead.
I should have taken notes during this because there's so many little stupid things we could point out and do a video just like Angry Video Game Nerd. Another thing that's annoying is
I'd rather eat open ass.
What was it? There was one more thing. Oh yeah, the level design is it's too maze-like. I don't know where I'm going, and there's no maps. Even though the very first Zelda game ever had maps.
I need a beer.
No drinking, QQ.
And then he chugs an entire Rolling Rock.
Well, that's what that is.
Huh?
I didn't know what kind it was.
Yeah, he always drinks Rolling Rock. I think he also drinks something else. What does he drink? Rolling Rock, and there's another one.
I don't know. That one's in the Angry Video Game Nerd game.
Yeah, Rolling Rock. You know what's Rolling Rock is famous for?
What, video games?
No, being extremely cheap. It is like water. Like if you wanted a good first beer, Rolling Rock would be great because it tastes like slightly fizzy, slightly bitter water.
Okay.
It's like drinking tonic water, except not as bitter. It's not as bitter as that.
How bitter?
It has an alcohol taste to it, barely any hop taste to it. So it's probably the least bitter beer you'll ever have. Oh yeah, Youngling. That's the other one he would drink. Is Youngling. And Youngling's actually not the world's cheapest beer. Now, to be fair, there are a few beers that are cheaper than Rolling Rock. Natty Light.
Q, I need to turn this off, so can we go?
Keystone.
We've been going for 3 hours.
Okay, yeah, we need to go now.
Good night.
See ya.